All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Corinne DeFilippis. I am a real estate agent outside of Central Florida, and I'm super, super excited to share with you guys my story and my journey into real estate because it was super unexpected to say the least. But I'd love to share how you can, in fact, too, triple your business in 6 months or less by learning the fundamentals I'm going to teach you today on how to become a top listing agent in your market. And I'm going to share my story on how I did it. So, first things first, I kind of like to talk about who I am and what I've accomplished. So, I've been in real estate for 6 years. And in my journey, when I started real estate, my first deal in real estate was probably one of the worst deals ever. Actually, my current sponsor over at EXP was the listing agent on my very first deal, and that's how he met. So, he'll actually go on stage and talk about how I was the worst agent he had ever met in his life, right? So, with that, though, he saw I had a lot of hunger and a point where I was about to give up on my entire career because it took me 6 months to close my first deal. He saw something in me I didn't see in myself yet, right? I think a lot of us get in that place as well. So 6 years in the business, I've sold over $100 million in real estate by myself in production. My first year in real estate, I actually sold about 6 million in sales, and it was in my second year I had sold just under 20 million in sales as a buyer's agent predominantly in my second year in real estate. So I was over the moon. I was super excited. And my niche, everyone, is actually outbound prospecting. So that's how I built my entire business because I'm not from Orlando. I didn't have a sphere here. And the reason that I went into outbound prospecting is because that's where I learned a skill set when I was in the insurance business before I went into real estate. So 100 million sold, went into being a top buyer's agent. And then in that journey, I went into being a listing agent as well. My third year in production, my business cut in half because the interest rates went up and half the market kind of just stopped. And I was at a place where I was just in a really, not the best place in business. And so I ended up sitting next to someone that I hired as my coach on an airplane heading over to EXPCon. I always like to say, get on airplanes, and spent a lot of money, did coaching. And then that very next year, I actually sold over 25 million in sales and about 50 transactions and listings. And that is exactly what I'm going to be teaching you guys today. But in the 6 years, I've been able to be nominated as Rising Star in Orlando, 35 under 35 vote producer. I've always ranked in the top 3 in my office every single year. So it has been quite a journey. But for a lot of people who are on the buyer side looking to get more onto the listing side, this is definitely for you. But my story actually begins way further back than that. I like to say that you could either use your story to serve or your story to suffer. So my story started at a super, super young age. So we're going to take it back to 1994. So when I was 4 years old, I was actually diagnosed with a very rare tumor to the spinal cord. It's called a pilocytic astrocytoma tumor. It's 1 in a million in children. And I had required 3 surgeries to remove the tumor at 4, 5, and 6. After that, I had spent pretty much all my childhood in hospitals getting platelet transfusions, radiation, chemotherapy. So my childhood was not your average childhood, right? But it's what turned me into the warrior that I am today. And I was able to take that same warrior mindset through the bad times in real estate and use it to leverage to be able to work even harder. So I always like to say in this industry, if you're looking to be successful at it, you've got to be in it for the right reasons. Same thing when I was younger and I was dealing with a lot of medical stuff. There were so many doctors who all they cared about was making money at the end of the day. And they didn't really frankly care about my life and how that would impact my life. But there was one person who did. So this is my doctor, Dr. Mark Sudane, out of all the doctors who said that, hey, 1 surgery, take the tumor out, we're all good. He was the only one who said, this is going to require 3 surgeries to successfully remove this tumor and make sure that this girl either lives or isn't paralyzed because of going into the spinal cord. So I always promise whatever I would do in my life, I would always treat people like people, no matter what industry that I was in. And I was not planning on going into real estate, everyone. I'm just forewarning you guys. I was a criminal justice major in college. I had no plans on being in real estate. And right after I graduated college, right before I was about to start my job under the Department of Justice, I actually was diagnosed with cancer when I was 22. So it pivoted me into going to homeowners insurance. And from homeowners insurance, I was able to learn the skill set about outbound prospecting. I'd actually reach out to realtors, lenders, and I built my book of business in insurance, but I was only making $35,000 a year. So at that time, my mentor at the moment said, "Hey, I think you'll do really well in real estate." And he pushed me into real estate. And again, we'll go backwards. It took me 6 months to close my first deal, and I ended up meeting the mentor and sponsor that I've been with 6 years since, right? 100 million sold. But I look back at that little girl and I remember that I will always treat people like people. So in the fundamentals of working with humans in the housing industry, when you are genuine and you are authentic and you treat people like people, you are going to succeed and you are going to scale. So anytime someone asks me what has the last 6 years of the industry been like for me as a realtor going into the COVID market, this is what pops into my brain. Real estate has been all over the place since 2019. We have had a very big lack of stability, and I have been in the trenches with you guys the entire time. Remember, I started as a top buyer's agent, business fell, and I went into the listing side and realized the reason I enjoyed the listing side is because I learned a lot of key fundamentals. I learned how to scale, I learned leverage, I learned delegation, and I learned how you can build a business with time freedom. So you can be a CEO of your business and no longer a slave to your business. So in this course, I really want to break down how you could also do the exact same thing, because this can be taught in every single market. So, first things first, every time I speak to any agent, the first question I ask is, what's your routine look like? If we don't have a routine, we are not running a business. Now, we're not in a 9 to 5, but at the end of the day, we do have to structure our days like we are a CEO, right? We need to time block. We have to have things in our calendar. We have to have daily productive activities that we're doing every single day. We have to have time blocks for hours that we're reaching out to people. Just this little 2 millimeter shift into someone's schedule, I have tested this theory many times, has put 0 to 6 figures in someone's pocket. That's exactly what it did for me. I made 6 figures very fast after doing this one shift, because when I was on the buyer side, I didn't really have a schedule. Though I did very, very well, I didn't have a schedule, and I suffered from burnout because of that, because I didn't have a morning routine, a daytime block, and a nighttime routine. So this is what I like to say, a really good fundamental you can stick to, right? So in the beginning, when we wake up every day, I do not go to work. Do not wake up to go to work. Wake up to pour into your cup first. So in the morning, I have limited distractions, phones on do not disturb. I'm not going in emails. I'm not talking to clients. I am taking that time for me. And another thing that I changed when I went into the listing business is I started waking up before 6 a.m. because it's a statistic and it's proven that most successful people wake up before 6 a.m. and success leaves clues. So that's exactly what I implemented and what I followed. So in regards to when you should be reaching out to people, it's after you've poured into your cup first. The thing about reaching out to consumers is I like to say the R in real estate stands for rejection. We're going to deal with rejection. We're going to deal with no's. We're going to deal with wrong numbers. So the sooner that we can realize that that's just part of the job, the better this is all going to be, because all roads realistically lead to the phone. Whether you're speaking to someone you do know or you don't know, you're always on the phone, right? So the thing about the morning routine is this is what's going to build up your armor. This is what's going to build up your mindset. So when you are having these conversations, you feel strong, you feel relentless, and you feel prepared for literally anything that you're going to get. So the way my framework and my day work is I'd have my morning routine, I'd go work out, I wrote in a gratitude journal every morning, I listened to podcasts, and then from 9 to 12, I made calls. That was my outbound prospecting window. There was nothing, and I mean nothing, interrupting me from my outbound prospecting dollar making window. That was when I was in the jungle. I'm alone in my office, doors closed, distractions are out there, phones in another place, and I'm in my system and I'm focusing on reaching out to consumers and having quality conversations with people that can turn into listings. So realistically, if I really wanted to, my day and the high leverage activities that I needed to be done were all done before 12. Then after 12, that's when I checked emails. That's when I returned calls. That's when I handled negotiations. That's when I went to listing appointments. And then at the end of the day, I would always make sure to unwind, go to bed, and do that the next day. Now, the framework of how much time I spent in this business is 5 days a week. If you want a business where you no longer have to work weekends anymore, it's actually 110% possible, because that is what I've been doing for the last 2 years working on the listing side is I have time freedom back and I have weekends back, and I'm able to scale more because I am managing the listing side longer and I still stick with the schedule every single day. So high leverage activities as a real estate agent, the big four you can control, and you have to do these things every single day. Prospecting, like we mentioned, from 9 to noon, presenting when you're at listing appointments or presenting to agents or presenting to consumers, building relationships, and leading. If you stick to these four fundamentals on a daily basis, the compound effect is unreal. But at the end of the day, the reason I love the listing side is because we are focusing on sellers. Not that buyers aren't important to focus on, but we're focusing on people who have a high urgency to make a move in less than 3 months. And we are following these four fundamentals. This is what I do on a daily basis. I still do this to this day. I always remember that at one point I need to be prospecting, I need to be presenting, building relationships, and leading. Meaning, here's the business I'm not running. I never ran a business where I just put the phone on the table and waited for the phone calls to come into me. I didn't have the sphere to do that. And many people in this business right now are doing that, and they're suffering because they are not taking control of their business. We cannot control outcomes. We cannot control who's elected for president. We can't control the weather. We can't control anything going on in the world. That's all macro. But what you can control is those daily actions that you take daily that will later equate to that outcome. So when it comes to outbound prospecting, so many people get scared because they think everyone is calling these same people, right? Which we're going to get into what types of leads you should be speaking to on a daily basis and having quality conversations with. But realistically, these are the facts. Most agents stop calling after the third try. So if you are calling 3 or more times, you are already surpassing what most agents do. They're really not calling, nor do they have the skill set to be able to have these types of conversations, or they're just sounding like everything else. I want to set you up here for success where you have differentiators and knowledge tools, and you're able to sound genuine and authentic and just get so much business as much as possible because you just understand that it's a numbers game at the end of the day. I'm leveraging systems and dialers where I'm calling about 200 dials a day to talk to a couple of people to get one listing appointment. My intention every day was to take a listing every single day. And that is how you have quality conversations with people. And if I'm speaking to one person every single day, my goal is I'm in 5 living rooms every single week. If I'm in 5 living rooms every single week, I'm at 20 living rooms a month. Even at an under average conversion, and I'm converting 3 to 4 listings a month, you could see how that compounds over the year at that 36, 40 plus listings per year. And the thing I love about listings is listings duplicate. So who are we prospecting, right? I say in real estate, there is an abundance of low-hanging fruit that exists in the market that people either don't go for or they're scared to go for, right? So that comes down to things like expired listings, someone's house who failed to sell and they went in and said, hey, I'm going to work on selling it for you because of X, Y, and Z. For sale by owner, someone who's trying to sell on their own. With these top two, the reason I love them so much is they are already waving their hands, signaling that they have something to sell. Right? That's why these are the lowest hanging fruit in the business and such an untapped market. And they're all over the country now more than ever because of market conditions that we're in. There's almost an unfair share of advantage. I actually read a statistic in my stellar MLS out here in Orlando where we had about 7,000 listings that had expired in 6 months. Now, the average commission check in my area is $10,000. That's $70 million of potential commissions just sitting, waiting to be sold that you could be going for. There's for rent by owners, someone who's trying to rent that you could reach out to and say, hey, for the right price, would you consider selling your home? Do you think this is an asset that best serves, cash flow? Is this an asset type you're looking to stay in, right? Canceled, someone who went on the market, but then it came off. Withdrawn, someone who took the house off the market. Off market, of course, circle prospecting. If you have a neighborhood you're looking to farm or areas that you really want to sell in, there are off market sellers that you can reach out to, leveraging systems that are easily available to you, saying, hey, I'm Corinne with eXp Realty. For the right price, would you consider selling your home? We've seen a lot of movement in the area and we're looking to work with people who might want to consider moving into a different location. And would you like to see some numbers, right? It's all about just that initial script and asking qualified questions. And then, of course, the one we all know, like, and love and want to work with, which is our sphere. Whenever we start this industry, I always like to say you have to create your top 100 list. You can't be a secret agent. You need to let people know that you're in the business and you're here to serve. So if you have Sphere and you have a lot of people that you feel will make a move in the next 3 to 6 months, you need to have them in a list in your CRM, and you need to be leveraging that 9 to noon window to reach out to that sphere of influence in order to keep your business proactive versus reactive, right? We want to do outbound. We don't want to only rely on inbound. So examples of outbound are going to be cold calling, open houses, door knocking. Examples of inbound are going to be things like mailers, social media, right? Ads. Those are things that are all great to balance. But if you want a business that's built where you have leverage and then you are able to control your business and your income, you have to have more outbound than inbound. You can't be scared in real estate to reach out to people. So the how is super simple to follow this framework and these KPIs. 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day. If you think about it, would you rather go back to your 9 to 5 or be in 9 to noon? That's the decision that I made that had completely changed my life. When I had sold $25 million in the first year that I implemented these exact same strategies I'm teaching you now, grossing over $500,000, I have never made that much money in my life, but I actually had way more time freedom than I did as the buyer's agent who sold just under 20 million. That person had no time freedom, no schedule. I was burnt out. I was not in a good place mentally. But the listing side, I was able to do more and I was able to make more, and I had more time freedom and more peace of mind. So 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, one listing appointment per day is how we equate to the compound effect. So, in regards to dominating any market, you need to customize a unique solution. You need to have a niche, you need to have a program name, you need to have program features and program benefits. So, we obviously went over the types of leads you can be reaching out to. We also went over the times of days that you're reaching out to people and the intention behind what you're trying to do on a daily basis, which is sit in front of one living room. So, my niche and my bread and butter has been expired listings. I actually have a team as well, and we've sold over 100 units this year doing the exact same thing, being in the jungle, calling from 9 to noon, reaching out to expireds, setting qualified appointments, and stacking as many listings as possible. So our niche is selling homes that failed to sell the first time, right? Because we have features and we have solutions. We have a unique marketing plan that we work with. We have easy exit agreements, communication guarantees. We have partners that we partner with that only work with us. And we, of course, have all the numbers of the sales that we've done and the success stories to share with the seller on why we are going to get them from where they're at to where they want to be. So I would definitely recommend that your niche is going to find you, right? You're not going to find it. But we practice on these lead sources to see what we're good at, what we're best at, what we're consistent at, and what we're getting the most results in. And we stay in that 5 days a week, 30 days of the month, right? And all the whole month. And we take as many listings as possible and as many qualified opportunities as possible so we can have a consistent business. So be the doctor. At the end of the day, when it comes to these types of sellers, they already tried to sell and they failed, or they're already selling and they're already selling their house on their own, but they don't want representation at the moment. But when it comes to working with these people, they're just people. They're just humans. And they have a goal that they're looking to reach. So anytime I'm on a conversation with any of these consumer types, I am always diagnosing them. I am always asking really quality questions. On any phone call or appointment that I'm in, I'm asking at an average of 20 plus questions to these consumer types, right? I'm asking them about, is the house still for sale? I'm asking them, why were they trying to sell it? I'm asking them how the process went when they tried to sell the first time or currently selling. How many showings? How many offers? What's the feedback you've been getting? If you sell this house, where are you going to next, right? What's the timeline you're looking for to get this sold? Where did the price come from? These are all quality questions that help me better be the doctor. I like to say when it comes to these types of calls, we go in being a detective and we come out being a doctor. If you go sit in a doctor's appointment, at the end of the day, the doctor's not going to just prescribe you medication. If your knee hurts, they're going to ask, how long's the pain been? How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad does it hurt? When did this start? Do you have family history of this, right? Have you injured yourself before? So how are we going to be realtors that walk into these appointments and phone calls and not diagnose them the same way? And then with being a doctor, how I get them from where they're at to where they want to be is I'm able to provide them a list of quality solutions that go over any objection that they may have. right? So in regards to selling expireds for sale by owners, what I want to do is I want to set you guys up for success. So I have a gift for you guys that if you email me the word action to this email here, you are going to gain access to 4 of my live calls and a listing class where I taught a live role play. So you can and also some systems that I use and recommend. So you guys could also go into selling these types of properties and dominating your market. 6 months or less, you can become a top listing agent in your market. I've not only done this, I've watched other agents. We've trained do this, agents across the country doing this. This is the lowest hanging fruit opportunity that exists, and there's never been a better time to make sure that you're reaching out to consumers and taking full control of your business. If you have a goal to want to be a buyer's agent to listing agent, this is it. If you're a goal to take more listings, this is how you could sprinkle in some more of that. And this will also give you the schedule that you can follow to make 2026 your best year ever. So make sure you email me. I'll send you over those live calls, and I'm super excited to hear about the results that you're able to get in your market.